Hello and welcome along to another episode and the start of Season 8 from this FM22 story, The Head Coach with me, Daniel. We're back today for our transfer special with Crystal Palace, and Dougie Freedman is still the director of football. He's been given a new long-term deal and he's been busy this summer. It's been a very weird one. There's been some big positives, there's been some bizarre deals, and there's been some things that I probably wouldn't have done. But either way, we're probably in a stronger position than I expected us to be in come the start of this season. Still a couple of holes in the squad, a couple of key players missing, but otherwise we can't really have any complaints. We'll meet all the new faces, say goodbye to all the ones that are leaving, and we'll also play Burnley on the opening day of the season. You can see again, it's sort of split like last year. We've got two friendly-ish games at the start against Burnley and Norwich, Southend away in the Cup from League 2, and then the big games, Spurs, City and the likes continue to come thick and fast. So if you're looking forward to seeing who Dougie's brought in and what we're going to be able to produce this year, please do put a thumbs up on it. Subscribe down below for daily FM22 content from two long-term stories. It's a big season in a Hemel Hempstead One Club story. You can find the latest start of season up in the eye above, the transfer special followed by deadline day. And then of course you can find the football podcast, the Twitch channel for regular live streams and much more across the channel. Thank you so much for your support, but let's get cracking, shall we? We have got a big episode to get through and we have to start with transfers, but that goes via the staffing because as I mentioned, we expected Dougie Freedman to leave. He hadn't been offered a deal by mid-May when we were last here, but he got one. So let's get them in job order and we can go and find him. He's been offered £6,000 a week on a 3-year deal. Now, I don't know if that's just because they couldn't be asked to find somebody else, although his judging ability has gone up by one, so maybe he's still improving. He's got a good personality, he's played for the club, he's worked at the club as a coach already, so he's someone who knows this football club inside out. There's not really been much else going on. Mark Bright, the loan manager, he got a new deal as well, so it's very much stability being the focus here at Crystal Palace. And maybe behind the scenes that's why they've had success and they've always bounced back to the Premier League. I don't know if we're going to be able to replicate finishing 8th, but we'll try our best and we'll certainly still have a decent season. I don't expect us to go down, but let's have a look at the players in and out because there are a couple of new players pushing for the first 11. So let's start with the released player on this occasion, just the one, but it was a first team player who started the final game of the season. We'll ignore the fact that's the only game he'd started for us in the league, but Joe Rankin Costello has left the club. Look, I know he wasn't a great footballer, he wasn't a very good player, but as was proven the last day of last season, his versatility was a big asset, and that will be missed. But I'm sure we've got a big enough squad, and with 9 subs in the Premier League, you're very hard pressed not to have cover in every position off the substitutes bench. So, no early business in the summer, but this is what's been happening since, and you might immediately see the thing that stands out. We've got a part exchange deal, which you don't see very often in these saves, and that's something we'll look into. We've also finally had the exodus of midfielders we were hoping for, and we've managed to get a few people off the wage bill, so he's done a quite good job in that sense. The only one I'm slightly concerned about is Brian Mbeumo going out on loan, because there's not a replacement for him. He's gone to West Brom, but it's a good fee. Kenny Tete, though, is the first one out, and he goes on a part exchange deal with 16.25 million, which we've paid to get Robin Lenormand from Newcastle. Now, Tete going's not a disaster. He's 32. He was getting on a bit. He was probably the weakest starter at the back four, if we're being honest. The issue is, when you've paid big money and a part exchange fee for someone, what you don't then expect is them to be 31 years of age. Robin Lenormand is on 50 grand a week. He's an excellent defender, don't get me wrong. He's an upgrade on what we had, and it'll probably mean Tormainer to right back and him in the middle. But Tormainer's 32 as well, so, he might drop out too. But what a good player. He's a very good centre-half. He's good on the ball. He's great defensively. He's 6'2", he's big, he'll be strong from set pieces, and he's played over 200 games for Newcastle in the Premier League. So, in terms of as a signing, to have him in the first team, I'm delighted. But given that we've paid basically his value and given them Kenny Tete, I'm not sure that's a good deal for the club financially, because he's not going to have a sell-on value, is he? So that was the weird deal of the summer. Let's get through the rest of the outs quickly. Mariki, we know, was leaving. He was pre-agreed to go to Cagliari. It's 60 grand off the wage bill, so that's a positive. We've got a few others who went out on free. Some of them were out on loan, like Ben Sheaf, and I didn't even realise, back from their championship days. We got 1.9 million raising to potentially 4 for Joe Waring, a young centre-half. We did receive a couple of offers for him in January, but look, he's not going to make it now. He's 21, and I think that's a pretty good deal. Dele Alli, back from his long-term injury, goes to Sampdoria for just over 5 million. Look, he's really declined the last year or so, and he didn't really play much for Palace, so that's a very good deal for me for a 32-year-old. Callum Styles, we mentioned him before, an old fan's favourite, but he wasn't really making it now. He was the worst of the centre midfielders at the club, caused some trouble off the pitch, and he was actually one of the highest paid players at the club as well. I think he was third at the time he was sold, and he's gone to Sparta Prague, where he's also earning absolutely monstrous sums of money. John McCormack, another one of those who was on the fringes last year, young holding midfielder, he needs football, so to go to the Championship and get a year of it, probably not a bad thing for him. We've mentioned Mbuemo. He's gone out on loan to West Brom, where I think he'll probably get more football, but does leave us a little bit short in that area. And then of the other ones, it's only really Kemar Codrington, who featured in the January transfer deadline day special. Couple of offers for him. He has gone this time. £1.3 million to West Bromwich Albion. So, decent sums of money. And if it wasn't for the part exchange deal and the amounts of money we spent on that, it would be a break-even summer. There's been a few sell-on clauses that have gone, I'd noticed. A couple of players that got moved on from their next club. And we've still got a little bit of money left if we have a look. 20 million in a transfer budget. Another, 250 grand in the wage budget. It's certainly not a disaster. We've got an opportunity to improve still. But these are the other couple that have come in. We've met Lenormand, who's probably going to be a starting centre-half. We've then got another experienced player in Arthur. He is a Brazilian international from Ajax for 10.25 million. He's 32 now. And there was a team last year in the head coach. I can't remember where it was, but it was near the end at one of the big European clubs. We had him at an older age. He was a very decent player still. My worry is at 32 that he's losing his physical attributes already, but he's excellent on the ball, and if we can get him off the bench, maybe help him control possession when we're in a 1-goal lead or something like that, I feel he could be a real valuable asset. So certainly not devastated to see him join, but a bit like Ndombele, a lot of money for what we're getting, which is a squad midfielder past his prime. The third one is not as exciting as it looks. Dragan Rosic for 2.3 million from Parma. He is a backup goalkeeper. He's not actually that bad at all. He's not a million miles behind the one we had already. If we go and have a look, he's just behind Krabara and miles ahead of Cardenas. So it's improved the squad. No doubts about that. 21 grand a week, good at one-on-ones, decent in possession, and can play as a sweeper keeper. It's all pretty good to me, I've got to be honest. And then just to go back to the roots, they've signed a young player from Barrytown United. So back to the Welsh Premier League where it all started for us. I don't know why he's been signed, even for the under-23s. As well as those that have come in though, I've got to show you the near miss, which is Nahuel Molina. He is a right back who would have been phenomenal, but he's chosen to go to Lazio instead from Southampton. A player that Dougie Freedman tried to sign, one that got me excited because of his quality going forward and the fact he was physically good. But he's ended up rejecting us, which might be a blessing in disguise. Because if we go to the transfers currently in progress, you might notice a familiar name there at right back. For £6 million from Leeds, only 28 years of age, Jayden Bogle is on there. Now, here's a 3-star ability right back. He's got quality. Not quite as tall, which is a shame, but a very good player. Determined, resolute personality. Again, likes to get forward, but is solid at the back. And has a lot of experience in England's top 2 tiers, including a few little Premier League seasons here and there. So Jayden Bogle is someone who I'd love to see join the club. Gives us more strength in depth. Probably allows Fitzgerald to be loaned out again, which will likely happen anyway. And it is important given the other potential out at the moment, which is Andres Karabali, who is a young centre-half who we were using in the squad as our 4th choice centre-back. He's a Colombian international at 21, but it looks like he's going out on loan again to Huddersfield. So if we lose him, then Jayden Bogle just gives us our full quota of 8 defenders, which for £6 million at 28, I think is a pretty good deal. So it's an interesting summer. It's not the sort of summer we'd have hoped for. It's probably not got anything exciting happening in it. But arguably, we've kept the squad as strong as it is, maybe slightly improved it for this season, albeit not at a good financial value. But the most exciting and important stuff that's happened, and perhaps the most blockbuster news, is what's happened with the players that are already here. Because you can see Seli and Boya is no longer wanted, And he's got a 5-year deal because Dougie Freedman has tied him down. And not only has he done that, he's upped his minimum fee release to £102 million. Which, look, if we get that for him, just take it because it's a fabulous deal. But it means that now his value is less than his release clause and probably gives us an opportunity to keep him, certainly for this season at least. He has been at the Olympics, which means he's a little bit fatigued, but I think we're going to trust him to play today. He's an excellent player, and the rest of the side's pretty good. You can see Lenormand is due to tuck straight in. Tormena at right back is getting on a bit, just starting to decline, but if Bogle comes in, he'll then be a backup, which is a massive improvement on last year. You look at the bench, the likes of Chris Tipple really improving, still becoming a very good player. Yes, we're still a little bit short of quality in centre mid, bar Boyer, but we've now got a manageable number of players, 7 for the 3 positions. Cardenas looks like he might be on his way out. He was recommended to go on the transfer list in the staff meeting. That's been done, and I'd imagine he'll be off before too long. And then I'd imagine a couple of these youngsters go out on loan once the deals have been done for Jayden Bogle, who will hopefully choose to join the club. I'll be interested to see if he does spend the last 10 million and where it is. I'd like to hope it's somewhere other than centre midfield because I feel we're pretty well stocked there. But there's also those little clouds hanging over Teo. Will he get a big offer? There were a couple earlier in the summer. There was one for Chris Tipple at 32 million. There was one for Abdul Qadir at 28 million. But they've all been rejected so far. And it means we've got a pretty good squad and I'd be confident of staying up. Now, it doesn't really matter what we think. The board think we should as well. But what about the media? Well, they've predicted us to be comfortably in the lower mid-table positions, level with Burnley, who will be playing today at 250 to 1. But the 3 promoted sides and Brentford expected to finish categorically below us, and they expect us to be in that mix fighting for about 12th place, which I think is realistic. If we can get into that next mix again with Newcastle, Wolves, Leicester, Everton, maybe if the likes of Bogle sign, that will happen. But anywhere from 8th down is basically realistic. Newcastle, I'd imagine, will have invested again. They've had massive sums of money flying about in this save. And this year, just 122 million, signing players from PSG and from Spurs, and Kenny Tete from us, of course. And then even the likes of Wolves, who have got a blockbuster squad in this save, they've spent 61 million. So for us to compete with them again this season is going to be a massive ask given the money we've spent in comparison. But really, we should be hoping for lower mid-table. And if we can stay away from that relegation scrap all season, I consider it a remarkable success again. So let's go and get into the first game of the year. Tottenham going to be a threat this year. Isak, Calvert-Lewin, Harry Kane still going. There's plenty of out there. But away to Burnley, this is a real clash to be away from that relegation zone. I've picked the side that I feel is best. And I've picked the side that I feel is most settled from last year, which means Mitchell in above Teo. It also means just the one change in the defence for Lenormand, who comes in, and hopefully Bogle will be the new right back before long. I've gone for Castrovilli in centre midfield because he is the best rated player of the spare options there, but he didn't really perform last year as a centre midfielder. It's still his best role though. There's nowhere else where he really stands out, and I've tried playmaker positions, hasn't really worked this year. So after pre-season, that is my aim. The 11 for today is Grabara in goal, exactly the same tactic by the way. Tormena and Mitchell the fullbacks with Lenormand and Mepham, who also has crucially stayed at centre half. I know it means they probably lose value for him, but he's a fabulous player. And from a selfish point of view, I'm very glad he's here alongside the new boy. We've got Taha, Boyer and Castrovilli the midfield 3. Didn't expect to be announcing that at the start of the summer. And then Abdul Qadir, Lanez and Tyrese Campbell. How many can he get with a whole season under our management? He's improving still at 28. He's a fabulous pro. And we've got a developing Chris Tipple on the bench if we need him. This is a pretty decent squad, and I'd expect it to be comfortable. If we lose to Burnley today, though, there might be a little bit of panic. So as we head into our opening game of the season, with a few familiar names in this Burnley side, not least Alan St-Maximin. We've also got Lloyd Kelly behind him at left back, Saul off up front. Had a spell with Palace in his younger years, didn't quite work out for him, but had a good career since. Likes of Nathan Collins still there on the bench. It's a decent side. However, it is a game we would like to win. Probably more so a game that we'd like to not lose to make sure that we're not right in that mix. But points could be crucial, and last year you could argue when we joined the club they were better away from home. In the comments, let me know where you think we're going to finish this season based on what you've seen of the squad so far and the transfer work that's been done. And then we'll see how it matches up against this Burnley performance, which I'm hoping will be pretty decent. We've had a good pre-season, we've avoided injuries for the most part, other than little 2 or 3 day knocks, and Castrovilli goes long to start with. Campbell there, keeper just makes it. Oh, it was a very close race. I think the keeper might have panicked for a minute, but Maximiano gets there. He goes long down the left, Tormaina heads away. And that is the one benefit, I guess, is we have now got more height of fullback than last year. Tormaina, a big 6'3" player, as Abdul Kadir gets down the right. Back to Tormaina, delivers into Tyrese Campbell. And the season starts in style. I don't want to get too excited because the referee briefly did the old to the ear gesture. But Tyrese Campbell picks up where he left off. And Tormaina out to right back, fair play to him. Adapts to a new position and gets an immediate assist. He wins a header there as well. Got a hard job on his hands at 32 to keep Saint-Maximin quiet. But he seems to be doing it pretty well so far, as Maximiano again in goal. Burnley playing out from the back all right, and they look fine. It's just when they get caught out on the counter, though this time they're trying to do that to us. Tormaina there again, what a start he's had. Taha to Castrovilli. He goes wide to Lanes. Got support from his fullback, but instead goes to Lenormand, the debutant. Into Castrovilli and Campbell, to Abdul Kadir, Boyer, Campbell, Abdul Kadir, Campbell, Lanes, just intercepted. Some lovely football. Tormaina wins it again though, they can't get out. Castrovilli to Lanes, could be an assist. Lanes puts it wide. Castrovilli started really well too, created 2 chances already, and promoted Norwich are ahead against Chelsea. Eddie Nketiah scoring the goal. This has been a good old start to the season, hasn't it? Let's hope we can keep it up. As Lanes having to deal with the throw from the right, but Mitchell's there, does the defending, then finds Lanes. He cuts inside, got no real pressure on him, no one can keep up, though his ball through his port, Boyer loses it, falls for Blanco in the middle. Back to Late at centre-half and Brathwaite. Finds Suarez, but again, it's under control, it's behind the Crystal Palace players. Everyone's behind the ball, they look comfortable. As Kelly comes forward, this is where it changes. They start dribbling and taking players on. Late again though, and we know that it's the long highlight. That's what it means. It's going to lead to a very good chance or a goal. Kelly up to Saint-Maximin, Sorloth to Blanco, Saint-Maximin, first time he's got 3 all day, and shows exactly why he is such a superstar. Burnley 1, Palace 1, I think it's their first shot of the game, and he's off the mark for Burnley. It's his first goal for the club, and it was with Burnley's first shot on target. Though we're straight back up the other end with a corner. Abdul Kadir takes it. It's where we had such a threat last year. And Mepham does again. Kelly has to get it off the line. But it's almost 2-1. It's been a really good performance. We just need the goals to match all the chances we're creating. Or maybe to be a little better at the back. Well, half-time, certainly a good display. We look by far the more comfortable side. And you've got to assess this, even if this game ends up being a draw, or even a defeat perhaps. If we can play this sort of way and create this number of chances in most games this season, you're going to win more than you lose. And that's how it worked out for us last year. What we don't want to start doing is drawing too many of the games that we were winning last year. That's when you find yourself in a little spot of bother. We're not seeing the best of Boyer because he's just come back from the Olympics, but everyone else looking all right. It's Castrovilli on the edge. Oh, what a time to turn up. Joined in January last year, had a really poor half a season, but on the opening day as this one has been a real threat with his passing range, and now just curls a beauty into the top corner from the edge of the box. What a moment for the lad. Let's make a couple of subs. Abdul Kadir has struggled. He'll be replaced by Morcio, who's the only option out wide there. Although we could have put Campbell out wide and Tipple up front. I don't know if we need a more defensive option at the minute. Look, we're going to stick with that for now. We're also going to take off Boyer and we'll bring on, I think, Ndombele. Or do you know what, actually? This is where we talked about Arthur. So let's do it. Boyer will come off. Arthur will go into that central midfield supporting role and he'll just try and keep possession. That's what he was bought for. Let's do it. And then Teo on for Mitchell, who's been our weakest player on the pitch. Hopefully, Teo can find his form again this year. And if he can do it before the end of August, might get him a big transfer too. Chelsea are level with the old wonder kid against Norwich, and you can see Haaland's off the mark for City this season again. But at the moment, we are clinging on for a crucial victory. With 90 seconds to go, they're back, and they're on the ball with Maximiano. Flicked on by Sorloth, but Arthur brings it down. Teo chips it forward pretty aimlessly, it's got to be said. And Collins, seems strange they've used one of their subs on a centre-half. Maybe it was an injury, I'm not sure. As Saint-Maximin's in again, he scored the first, and Grabara makes a super save. Absolutely excellent work from him. The one time we've been caught in behind, Grabara comes to the rescue. We're going to put the fullbacks on defensive duties. We're going to drop Castrovilli to a support one. And in fact, we'll put him back to a centre midfielder on support. And we'll put Arthur as a deep line playmaker. We're going to drop the wingers to support duties too. This is now a clinging on job. Let's hope we don't concede from the set piece. We are going to drop the tempo, time waste. It's so important to get off the mark this season with a victory. And we'll be hoping we can cling on and do that here because it's been a really good performance. And Burnley don't deserve anything out of it. They've been a one-man team going forward. That man is taking the corner though, Saint-Maximin, headed away by Normand, who's had a brilliant debut, it's got to be said. Out wide again though to the danger man, delivers in. What's happened there? The highlight ended as Saint-Maximin crossed it, but nothing's been given, and we deservedly cling on for the win. It is Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 2. Maybe not the ruthless display we saw at times last year, but an important win against one of those rivals in the bottom 6, 7 or 8. And that is surely a platform for us to build on this year. We'll see how it matches up to your predictions of the season, but let's go and have a look at the schedule and see when we're next going to be back. I'm guessing deadline date will feature. Well, our performance has been described as a vintage display. Arthur returns to English football. He left Arsenal in 2027. Okay, so he's not new to the Premier League. Castrovilli starts the season as the best player on the pitch, which is remarkable given his flattering to deceive last year. Can just take some players a month or two to settle though. It's been a weird first day in the Premier League. Norwich, newly promoted, got a remarkable draw against Chelsea. One of the relegation favourites, Brentford, won at Villa. Watford weren't hugely embarrassed, to be honest, against Manchester City. But let's hope we can still be cheering when we get to the end of the month, because Norwich is the next game and they're going to be confident after that one. I just want to have a very quick check, after what happened with Molina, that Jayden Bogle isn't wanted by any other club. He isn't. So hopefully we'll have him in our armoury next time we're here. First though, we've got to get through the likes of Norwich, which is a game we would expect to win, but their performance against Chelsea might change that. What should be an easy cup tie against Southend, but it is the potential banana skin. And Tottenham away, our first big game in the league. What we're then going to do is come back for transfer deadline day, which is slap bang in the middle of the international break. And then we'll play Manchester City, but it is a rotten 4 games. Tottenham, City, Liverpool, Chelsea. We're going to learn a lot about our side in those 4. If you want to come along and find out how we do and what Dougie Freedman's got in store on deadline day, please do put a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what you thought of the transfer work so far and that performance against Burnley. And where are we going to finish this season? Has that performance changed your opinion at all? If you want to stay up to date and find out how we get on for the rest of the year, subscribe down below and turn that notification bell on. We've got daily FM22 content from 2 long-term stories. It's a big season with Hemel Hempstead and you can see the latest season up in the eye above. There's also links there to the podcast channel, the Twitch channel for regular live streams and a few other bits as well. A massive thank you for your support as always. It is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you next time for transfer deadline day and to face last season's champions in the middle of what's a pretty horrific run of fixtures. I'll see you there.